you aim for a rave bae and then you see another guy swoop in and then they become the rave baes and you're like, fuck. And then you look at the other guy. You're like, how many other rave bae options did I have now? Like, which other ones did I have? And then you go, oh, there's option number 2. He's by himself. You know, you rave bae with them.
Watch your second option makes out with you and then he's like, how did you rank me?
Right.
Am I your first choice?
You know.
Were you each other's second or third?
Literally Gaysian.
Literally Gaysian.
It's Literally Gaysians, where 2 gay Asian guys, aka Gaysians, get real about their feelings and literally Gaysian shit. And what are we talking about today, Chris?
EDC.
EDC.
We never go, but we love to comment on it on the internet.
Like, why are we even trying to talk about it? Like, why are we always commenting about it on the internet?
For the clicks.
We're going to get... really, just writing it for the engagement. We're going to get so much shit for talking about EDC, yet not going again.
Which is why we're inviting 2 people who actually did go this year.
Yes.
And they're also experts in creating Gaysian spaces and nightlife.
So we're going to have Danny Pham. He's the CEO of QT Nightlife. So if you're in California and you're a Gaysian, you've probably been to one of their events, either Rise in SF or Switch in WeHo in LA. And we're joined by Lewis, who is also part of QT Nightlife.
But most importantly, they actually went to EDC this month and have so much wisdom and observation to share about it.
And before we get to them, we want to do our weekly Patreon shade. So this is where we're going to call out all the beautiful people who have supported us with a paid Patreon subscription.
We love
They're there
you.
to support us, and we're so grateful because you really get nothing but supporting us. But we promise exclusive content coming soon.
And that's why we're just going to treat you like shit and throw a little shade. And the shade topic today is EDC. So if they were at EDC, what kind of candy bracelet would they get?
And we have a lot of people to get through, so we will do very little explanation. Rapid fire. Chris, you go first.
Thank you, Daniel. Your bracelet says best hole. No explanation required.
Maverick, looking for third with the number 4 and the number 3.
Vincent, Liddy Kitty.
Liddy Kitty. Manny or Phil, it's Raver Kitty because you have a lot of cats. That required some explanation.
And we got Anthony, Dr. Techno Daddy. We'll see you at Neon Garden.
Or the ER. Josiah, best ex-boyfriend.
That's nice.
And then Jason Tianlei, doppelganger dancer.
Love it. We got Joe. Yours says Free Palestine because we love a Politiqueen.
Amen. 100. Anson, free lover. Aww.
And Sheening. His says never retiring.
Never retiring, and happy 50th, Sheening. Okay, Chris, ready to start the show after all that shade?
Yes, let's talk to our guests. I'm so excited. Hey guys, welcome to Literally Gaysians. Why don't you introduce yourself and we'll have a little bit of an icebreaker. Introduce yourself and the craziest thing you saw at EDC this year.
Hey everyone, my name is Lewis. I've been to EDC a few times, but I think the craziest thing, I mean, I must have been too inebriated to even see anything. So,
you were the craziest.
Probably me, honestly. Me on the floor. Oh, yeah, me on the floor. Oops.
Did you end up on the floor for real?
There was a time where I was on the floor for a good, let's say, hour. Danny was there helping me. Thank you, Danny.
Okay. Party.
You kind of stole my answer too. Something to that effect.
Was it me? Was it me?
No. I took a bunch of psychedelics for the weekend. So on one night I was traveling the universe, and the other night I was traveling dimensions. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. I missed that. Chris, we should share the craziest thing we saw at EDC, but like on social media, because again, we didn't go, but we're creating content.
What's the craziest thing you saw on social media?
On social media, I feel like people are curating. It's so Instagram. People are curating their social media, but on TikTok, people don't curate as much. And I thought the coolest thing was seeing security caught people stealing phones. And they had like several people handcuffed, and they had a table of 100 phones.
Yeah.
And they were like finding the people for all their phones. I thought that was great, because that seems to be what's one of the things that is killing like raves,
for sure.
and that whole the idea of plurness. But it felt good. It felt great.
Well, it's okay. So how do you guys protect your phones?
Yeah, the what's that cord people like hook on into their backpack or on their lanyard thing? But
I got ads
actually,
for that.
Yeah, right. I actually was like, oh, that's too much work. I don't know. But I did get my phone stolen. I think it was 2021, and it was the first day, literally 2 hours in. And I remember seeing the guy next to me. I thought he was passing through, but he like just like went in, and I was like, all right. And then he went out. And then I was like, okay. And then I put my hands in my pockets, and I was like, oh shit. I turned around and I see them walk away. And then I was following them. And then I grabbed him and I said, hey, you have my phone. And he was like, what are you talking about? And at that point I kind of gave up, because I was like, he probably passed it over to something.
Ugh.
But even my other friend, they were chasing us or following us because my friend's cord got cut too. Yeah, I was like,
So the cords don't work? That's just so annoying.
Some of them do. Some of them do.
I have a similar story. I think a few years ago, my then boyfriend and I, our phones were stolen at circuit grounds. We were in the process of like just walking out of the crowd, and I remember someone kind of like bumping into me pretty hard. And I wasn't registering it at the moment, but I just kept walking out. And then, but the fact both of us got hit and both our phones were stolen simultaneously. But then to piggyback off you, Juncho, what you saw on social media, like there was another video circulating on Reddit where they caught the ravers caught this girl, bass pod or something.
Right.
And
I saw that video.
Yeah, I kind of make a joke comment to other folks. It's like, if you're going to be a thief, don't rob people at base pod, because if they catch you, they're going to go pretty hard on you.
Yeah.
And then I joke more like, just rob the gaysians. They'll just be like, oh shit, oh well, let's have a good time anyway.
Why? What kind of people are at base pod?
It's the headbangers. It's the wilders. It's the hard style. Well, it's like right next to Wasteland. It's men.
I love the idea of sub-communities at EDC like that.
Yeah, well, like it's gone so big that it has created these like subgenres, sub-communities of different types of.
I mean, half a million people at the CDC, 525,000.
Yeah,
It's huge.
Remember just years ago, or I don't know how long ago, it was just like 300,000, right? But like to go to 500,000, it's just wild.
Yeah. Well,
that's a lot of damn people.
Yeah, when I started 2013, it was like 120,000, and we were like, oh my god, that's so many people, right?
That's when we went, don't you?
It was just so much smaller.
People. Wow. Well, I mean, we'll move on, because the craziest thing I saw two crazy things on social media. The first was something that Donja sent me, where like someone brought their parents.
Oh,
they're Asian parents, and I'm like, I bet you they're Vietnamese.
Oh, and they were, right?
They were probably
Vietnamese.
They
were, I swear to God. And they were like, I think I saw it too. It was like a couple, the dad hugging the mom.
I saw
That's
that.
so sweet. Yeah, and I've been hearing of other people who like rave with their parents who are in their 50s or 60s.
I saw the wheelchair lady, and all sorts of grandmas.
I saw the grandmas.
It was really cute.
That was a really cute video. That one, yeah.
And the other crazy thing I saw was some of my friends who remain nameless in LA had a lot of helicopter to EDC content. You saw those, didn't you?
I heard about it. You know who you are.
Quite jealous.
You know who you are, bitches. You LA bitches.
Oh my gosh. I think it was me in January. I drove this year, actually. And I was like, oh my God, how amazing would it be? Of course. To just helicopter out or to helicopter in.
Despite all my years of going to EDC, I have not helicoptered in and out yet. But that's definitely on my bucket list.
Okay.
So we have to go again, right, Danny?
And that means you have to go again. Well,
yes.
Speaking of going again, a month ago, I was like, Danny, are you going to EDC? Because you should be a great guest for this. And you're like, absolutely not. I went, no, or like not thinking of going. Maybe I'm being dramatic to make the story better. Then I checked Insta this weekend, and you're literally there. So what made you change your mind?
I know.
This bitch.
I was part of that a little bit.
Yeah, no, this is true. I had been long planning not to go to EDC this year. It's just because I've been to so many EDCs, I've lost count. It's clearly in the double digits. I've been going to EDC since it was still in LA. That's how long I've been going. So for me personally, it was getting a little repetitive, and I kind of want to challenge myself to like, well, let's try other festivals. Like, for a few years now, I've been trying to plan for Tomorrowland in Europe, but
If you could even get a ticket.
getting a ticket is just a challenge. But so, I mean, that's how I was pretty dead set thinking like, okay, I'm not going this year. But there were a few things that happened that kind of like started like building momentum for me. First and foremost, when the lineup came out, it was a pretty stacked lineup, and I was really excited for the artists. But okay, still not enough for me to change my mind. The second thing, I think it was the theme. When I learned it was going to be that cathedral theme, it's basically the same theme they did 10 years ago. And when I think about 10 years ago, that was kind of a pivotal time for me. So it was like nostalgia and wanting to kind of relive that moment 10 years ago. But the third and final thing that really tipped it for me to go, and Lewis can piggyback off this too, I was able to secure 3 VIP tickets for $500 a piece. So that's like half its value. That was just too good of a deal not to pass up. And then Lewis was interested too. I mean, so Lewis, you take it away. Like,
Yeah. So we saw the post.
Wait, were you retired too, or like semi-retired too?
I was semi-retired also. I haven't been double digits, but this was my 9th EDC. And I think this is also in lieu of what Danny was mentioning, is where things are a bit predictable, repetitive.
But as good Asians, you can't pass up a good deal.
Right. And so we saw the post, and I remember messaging the guy, and then he was like, "Oh, someone already claimed it." And I was like, "Who claimed it?" And he was like, "It's Danny." And I was like, "Oh, fucking shit." And then he's like, I was like, "Well, that's just one person. Like, save the other one for me." And he goes, "Oh, Danny's already buying all 3." And I was like, what the fuck?
I bought all 3 because I knew it was a deal. It was a deal. Like, it couldn't.
Yeah, it was basically we had to buy all 3, right? Or else, they were trying to sell it maybe $750 each. Because then I thought, okay, yeah. So that's where we bought all 3, and we had another person buy it. We found another person, and we were like, okay, done deal. I already booked. I mean, I said I wasn't gonna go, but I booked a hotel last year. Just you never know.
2 hotels.
So,
Lewis, you booked 2 hotels.
2 hotels, just in case. But the Luxor was more affordable, and I was like, it's last minute. I know the flight's going to be expensive. I also booked my flight a long time ago. But I wasn't going to go.
I wasn't going to go, but I kind of had like a flight and
a hotel.
2 hotel rooms.
And I had a spreadsheet of my itinerary if I went.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing for me too, guys. Like, every year past where I say I'm not going to go, I would have placeholders and stuff. But this year, I literally had nothing. But so to get the cheap tickets, to piggyback Lewis's existing hotel reservation, and he had a rental car, it kind of just all fell together, and that's why it felt right. And well, jumping ahead, but like it was magic.
Yeah, how was it? So was it magic?
I have to say, probably my best EDC ever. That's
look at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That says a lot because you've been to many of them.
Yeah, it was magical. I think EDC really, Insomniac really outdid themselves this year. Incredible production. From this, just the design of the stage, like again the cathedral theme, right? But like each pane was like a callback to each year's theme. So like it's just the attention to detail. I just love what Insomniac does. And then they had drones this year, and of course the epic fireworks. And
there was no hiccups. Also, there's been a couple years where the wind was too strong. The weather was great. The weather was perfect. It wasn't too windy. It wasn't extremely hot at night. The event itself was amazing already.
Yeah, actually, that was a small thing. The weather, because EDC used to be in June, and somewhat unbearably hot. But ever since they moved it to May, that for me kind of wasn't pleasant because it's not great raving in the cold or in the wind, right? So I guess that's kind of like a fourth thing I just saw. It was like it was going to be in the 90s, and it's just warm too.
It's nice.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, and in some sense with the wind, it just gets canceled. So that, or like one night gets canceled, and that's not fun.
Like Lovers and Friends did a couple weeks ago.
That's right. I was like, oh, it's gonna get canceled. I remember, I think it was last year. It was really windy, and the kinetic field sign on top was swinging.
Oh, there was a fire, and they had to close down Kinetic Field last year for a little bit.
Really?
There's
Oh
a
my
fire.
gosh.
I hear about the fire. Holy shit.
Yeah, there was some drama around that.
Don't just talking about it like you went. Damn.
You saw the fire. You're the one who created the fire.
I mean, just a few weeks ago, like, Bao was like, so are we going to EDC so we can report on this? I was like, fuck no. But I had this weird feeling where it's like, are we going to end up going last minute? Just like you two.
Yeah.
But we didn't. But we act like we're experts.
Yeah, we still got all the tea, or make all the tea, or start all the tea, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I've been going every year, and it feels like even if there's no plans, I think we've been so involved in this gaysian community that we know who to go with, or we can see the totems, or we do feel included that we are whichever group or whichever stage or wherever we go. We also know the landscape, the lay of the land. If we are by ourselves, we won't get too anxious on what to do next.
Yeah. Or maybe it was fun because you didn't build up all year toward it.
Yeah,
like
we didn't have expectations.
I also never have expectations anymore. I remember like the first 2 years, it's like, we got to do this. We got to see this person. We can't split the group up. We can't do any of that. But I think also when you do go by yourself with no expectations, or just not entirely with a bigger group, you can just wander around and kind of be a little nomad.
I mean, as a veteran, that's definitely a pro tip I would share to like newbies. It's like, the smaller the group, the better. Minimal expectations, just go with the flow, get lost. And actually, for me personally, like being the introvert that I am, I always had a tendency, with anxiety on top of that, I've always felt like I needed an anchor, or like to go with at least a person, like a significant other. But yeah, this year, the level of freedom I had in more or less going solo, and, you know, Lewis and I split off at times, you know, we met up with each other at times, but I'm just kind of surprised with myself because for me to literally walk solo, like I could have never imagined myself doing that. So I thought that was just a lot of personal growth for me to like feel comfortable.
Proud of you, Danny. Proud of you.
Oh, so you were single this year. Is that, did I read through the lines? You just kind of dropped that? You're hard launching your
Already put the at.
Yes, I'm single, and yes, unusual. Well, here's the, like, to joke up, you know, about myself. Yeah, so like I go every year. I can't retire because there's always a new boy I have to take every year. But there was no boy to take this year.
Always?
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like clockwork. One new guy here.
And so you're taking your newbies. But speaking of newbies, like, so it felt like you were like a baby this year, baby raver this year. But why don't you take us back to your first time entering the rave scene? Like, tell us about that. Where you were in your life. What's so different about you then versus now?
You go first, Danny, because you started before I did.
Yeah, I probably started before you, Lewis. My very first rave was back in 2003. So a very long time ago. I was 17 years old. Y'all can do the math how old I am today.
Did you have a boyfriend then?
Well, I'll get to that. So I was 17 years old. I was super twinky. I was very socially awkward. And I was just exploring my sexuality at the time. And I went to this rave with what would become my first serious boyfriend. And, you know, it was magical because I'd been listening to EDM long before I went to this rave. And to like share this experience, knowing that thousands of other people around me were here for, you know, the same common interest. And then like passionately making out with my boyfriend while rolling all night. You know, raving holds a really dear place in my heart because it literally was my first sense of community, a place that I felt belonging and yeah, so that's raving. I'm a raver at my core more than I've been a nightlife promoter. But anyway, yeah.
How about you,
Yeah.
Lewis?
For me, it started. I mean, I've heard about raves throughout college, and my roommate at the time was such an etard that he was like,
Forgot that term.
oh my god, right? Because
So
I
old
remember
school.
he told me he was like a perfect whatever, and so my freshman year roommate actually invited some people over to like house roll, and I remember just, you know, I didn't know what it was, but everyone was like super high and super on it, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what is everybody doing? Is everybody okay? And I thought to myself, I would never do this. I would never do any of that. But a lot of friends were doing it throughout college. So my first time was actually my third year of college when I was 21, and it was Cascade, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I'll try it out. And it was the Cascade concert, and I remember my rave dad at the time was like, here, take this, I'll take care of you. And it was pure bliss. It was pure bliss. He was like, Lewis, paint the sky. And I was like, oh, wow. Look at that. You know? And that the community aspect really was making sure everyone was okay, you know, and there is no judgment because people are so high, and people do different things while they're on when they are high. And there was this aspect of everybody taking care of each other. And then you're high while everybody's taking care of each other. And that was really the big aspect of community. And you also have to think about music back in the 2000s or 2010s. Like rave music also wasn't a big thing. It was also kind of like
It was underground.
right. It was like a quirky, kind of almost nerdy thing to listen to. It's like
Yeah.
Darude's Sandstorm or, you know, the Frog songs or whatever. You know, that's what people externally would think of as EDM.
Yeah.
So that's how I first got into it, and then it really exploded ever since for me.
Yeah, that chokehold that that Cascade album, Strobe Light Seduction, had on me. Girl, so good. And I will take anything to relive my first Molly makeout ever. It is like I've just like discovered like love or something.
It is so true when people are saying like they do chase their firsts, everything.
Yeah.
For me, and that was true. That was true because it went from one Cascade to a massive with 2 stages, and then it went to EDC.
So my makeout session at Cyberfest 2003 had two. There's 2 different stories that connect to that. So one of which, okay, I'm 17. I assumed that no one else from my high school was there. Because, you know, you're supposed to be 18, so I just assumed no one else from high school knew me there. Because, you know, I go to school in San Jose, it's an hour away. I think I'm safe being gay, or, you know, exploring my sexuality. But apparently a bunch of ABG girls from my high school definitely saw me.
Oh my gosh.
And were like, we saw you, Danny. Do you have anything to share and say? And at the time,
wait.
I was
That's
shy.
so
I wasn't
cute.
ready quite yet to come out. But the other story actually is kind of interesting. So my first serious, like my first gay best friend, who became a raver too, was describing like a particular event at a particular rave where he said he saw like these 2 guys making out, and like it was like his like it like triggered for him his realization that, you know, he might be queer. And when I asked him which rave and where, it turns out it was me.
Oh,
Look at you, paving way for other gaybies.
Yeah.
Yeah, something has changed forever in him.
Yeah.
Because of you.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You were in high school, right, Denny?
Yes, I was in high
Like,
school.
well, how did you even hear about the event? Like, do people talk about it in high school?
Well, for me, again, because I was so socially awkward, and I didn't really feel like I had friends, so much friends in high school. So I spent a lot of my life on the internet. So back in the day, right? So it was like MySpace. There was Downlink.
Oh my gosh.
There was actually a very specific social media forum called imviet.com. I don't know if anyone remember that.
I missed
We're
those
going way
internet
back.
days.
Yeah. So, yeah, back in those early days, I was like moderators of different forums, and you know, just naturally, a lot of people talk about different topics, and also naturally, it was my avenue to meet other Gaysians, because we certainly didn't have dating apps yet, that's for sure, and
Not even downlink?
Yeah.
this.
What about
So when did Downlink launch? I forget what year was that.
That was later on.
Yeah,
No, it's
because
later on.
my life was downlink. My life was so centered around downlink for sure.
Yeah.
And
So
then there was
pre-Downlink.
Asian Avenue.
Yeah,
No,
downlink.
that's about that era. Asian Avenue, like Finapix was that era. Was my era.
Friendster.
Yeah, Zanga.
Jenga.
Pre-Tumblr.
So, yeah. Oh my god, we miss Tumblr, don't we? But it was the other gays that I really kind of understood more about, like nightlife and what a place, a raves, to be such a welcoming space, right?
Yeah. Well, then thinking back to last week and all the raves and EDCs you've been to, how do you feel like it's changed? It could be for better or for worse, but how do you feel like it's changed since your beginning days as a baby raver?
Well, to go way back, like I really was fortunate to be on the tail end of undergrounds. Those were some of my most favorite memories, and it's just interesting to contrast, like, you know, the high maintenance stuff I need today. But like, I remember like in the early 2000s where, you know, it was all about undergrounds. You would have to call a phone number for a recorded voicemail for updates. Day of, they would update, and usually the update would be like, you have to go to the specific location to either get a wristband or some bit of information to ultimately find the actual, you know, illegal warehouse they set up in.
Yeah. You meet a person for that piece of paper.
Yeah, because the whole process is to, you know, to kind of check that you're not a narc or, you know, a cop to bust it or something, right? So they're trying to filter. But I remember like going to these illegal warehouse setups, you know, with hundreds of people, no formal security, no formal running water. Maybe there's 2 bathrooms. There's no like formal bar or anything, but it was probably the most fun time of my life. And sure, there would be like a noise complaint, and then the cops come, and then we all scatter, and then, you know, we kind of wait until the coast is clear, then everyone kind of just regroups, or you find your next rave. In a way, I feel like I'm describing circuits. You find your next event to kind of just hop over to. But yeah, to contrast that today, I mean, clearly it's more mainstream. It's more commercial. For better or for worse, I feel like, you know, more commercial means more production. More mainstream means more people are able to experience this. How about you, Lewis? What do you think?
I didn't experience the warehouse experience. I think even more people in LA probably experience that a bit more than Danny and I have been both in the Bay, and we both studied in San Francisco. So a lot of this is centered around the Bay Area. Because you hear a lot about the raves in LA. You hear a lot about that. And I think one of the first massives at Beyond Wonderland was like at Oakland Coliseum with the 2 stages. And then they never had it again because it literally shook the Bay Area. People in Alameda were like, the music is too loud. We can feel the bass. My cabinet's shaking. It literally shook the Bay Area. And so they didn't do that at Oakland Coliseum. But that was like my...
Beyond one.
Oh my gosh,
him with the
Danny!
ticket.
Why is it right there?
She's
did you-
prepared.
Well, I was doing I was just going through my old rate box of like memories and
my
stuff.
gosh.
And I'm very interested.
Stop.
I didn't buy my Cyberfest 2003 ticket, but the earliest ticket by coincidence, Lewis, is Beyond Wonderland at Oakland Coliseum, September
the one.
29th, 2012.
And you know,
And the ticket
the
was like
first...
$59.
What? $39?
$59.
Oh, 59. Oh, that sounds
It's
pricey.
actually still a lot for that time.
You know? But we all bought, like, college students, like, we were like broke college students that still wanted to go and be part of this experience. And the DJ that I remember the most then was Alesso. I remember, like, even, I forgot what song it was. The song that he still plays now. Like, he still plays that song 10, 12 years later.
Really was the golden era of EDM. That 2010s.
I wanted to talk about that because a lot of people seem to keep referring
the
to
golden era.
a golden era of EDM.
Yeah.
What is your golden era?
It was for
Or
me
the golden era?
The golden era. When you hear Clarity, when you hear Reload, or when you hear people making reference to Avicii, like I think that was also the birth of mainstream EDM, or when things really boomed then. Social media was also booming at the same time. But even so, before that, like you still have this culture of like everyone watching out for each other, everyone taking care of each other. And that's where this plur came from, of making sure everyone feels good, because you know when you're tripping balls and you don't feel good, it lingers over to everybody else. But as things scale bigger and bigger, 500,000 people for one event for one night, it gets really crowded. And you want to get to where you want to be, and then people get a little aggravated and whatnot. But we still have a really good time. The fireworks are bigger than ever. The music is louder. The stages are bigger. So it's just all changed. That's all.
Is it still plur when you went this year?
I mean, because we are also both part of, like, let's say this EDC gaysian group, that I think the group that we've been around to also takes care of each other too. There's that plur. But as for everything else, I think like when you look at other events like Ultra Miami, Ultra Music Festival, right? I think that more of a sense is like a big night club, like outdoors, right? You don't see the big main stage like EDC has. It's a bit more nightclubby at Ultra. So yeah.
Before EDC Las Vegas, Ultra was like the top tier festival to go to,
right?
Because that's where the International Dance Music Awards takes place at Ultra. Ultra was the place where DJs would premiere their new songs and all that. I haven't been in Ultra in a long time, but I kind of figure EDC Las Vegas kind of like took that all over. I don't know if the International Dance Music Awards still have an Ultra.
Yeah, lots has changed.
Yeah, I don't exchange as much candy as I used to, maybe, but it's still fun.
Yeah. But the more commentary about the golden era of EDM, I feel like if I were to like give myself perspective and take a big step back, it's a generational thing, right? Like I refer to this golden era because that was a pivotal time where it was new and novel. Probably the early years of like rolling and substances, where it's peak magic, and as you get older, it's not as
all new experiences. But then I think for us though, we didn't really have people to lean back on, really, because it was new for them too. Like my rave dad only went to a couple of events before I did, but everyone was experiencing this new thing.
If I were to guess, new Gen Z would probably, or whatever future generations after me, like they'll have their own golden era, right? I'd be kind of curious what they would refer to.
Yeah, like in like 10 years, some 20-year-old now is going to be like, the golden era was John Summit, where you are.
Oh my God, though.
You're so right.
Yeah.
Right.
A little bit of Fisher.
It was everywhere. Remember that song was everywhere.
Yeah.
And now like, and that's going to be nostalgic
John
for
Summit
people.
still plays that song 10 years later,
He will. Yeah. It's like, Zed still, Clarity's 10 years old. And every and you go to Zed and you gotta play Clarity. Oh.
Yeah, because I went to my first EDC in 2013. Bao was there. He was one of like the big pushers to get me to go. I was new to it. I didn't know what the music was at all. I had no taste in music then. I was just
You still don't.
having a good time with my new friends. And that's when Clarity and all those, I loved all that music. Then I loved like, who were some of the other big ones? Like all
Above
these
and Beyond. You loved Above and Beyond.
all these foreign European names I'd never heard of. I went to my first Above and Beyond, and I was actually still a little confused then why they talked so much during it. But I would say also that maybe it was a golden era of EDM for me because it was also my first EDC, first rave ever.
Oh my God, remember our costumes? We thought we were so cute.
Oh my God, what did you guys wear?
We did Pirates and Sailors.
20, 30 people strong of Pirates and Sailors.
Oh, I love
But
that.
like 2013 level of costumes, like Instagram was barely starting. So it's like maybe one bandana and like an American Apparel.
Oh,
tank top.
American Apparel. Love
With
that
eyeliner,
era.
like we were like so gender bending.
And then the second night, we all wore our legalized gay shirts.
Oh, I love that. See, you also have to imagine, like, gay marriage wasn't legal until 2015. And
Yeah.
so it was also trying to find a space where we can all just be ourselves.
I will say we got negative comments too walking around in those shirts.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
Yeah,
I'm
there
not
was a couple
surprised.
guys that were like, ew.
Because I wasn't brave enough to do that. Like, when we dressed up for EDC, we had matching tank tops. Okay? It was like, whatever. Like, EDC, whatever, you know? We weren't brave enough to do any of that.
That's definitely something I've noticed change over time, right? Like when I was referring to my early days where it was like pure as a blur, people were so welcoming. But yeah, when it becomes more mainstream and those uninitiated or, you know, not familiar with like plur culture, like, yeah, you got some of these folks coming in maybe just purely for their drugs, who don't really know the music. Actually, that's another thing, like on top of plur itself, it actually kind of bums me out. Like the average rave goer doesn't know the actual origins of plur. Like the actual origins of plur, or at least what I understand of the origins of plur. Google the Ravers Manifesto. It's way longer than just peace, love, unity, respect. It's much more letters. And if you ever read the Ravers Manifesto, it clearly looks like it was written by someone who is high as can be, but.
Rave Manifesto.
Incredibly high, but it really kind of speaks to how I felt what rave culture meant to me back then. Like if a song were to manifest that time of music, it would be like the EDM remix of John Lennon's Imagine, right? It was basically very communist. Like, you know, no politics, no religion. You know, we're all just one big happy family. Actually, in like researching this again for myself to double check, apparently I didn't realize the Ravers Manifesto was updated. Now it's called the Ravers Epitaph or something. There's also kind of a more modern resurgence of like maybe like pushing plur with the 2 R's. So instead of
I remember that.
respect as responsibility, I think that's a big one.
Responsibility is a big one.
So, kind of changing topics a little bit.
Okay.
What are y'all thoughts on everyone's obsession with finding a rave bae? Is that like a cruise boyfriend? Like, I think I've grown to understand, like, it's an ephemeral thing, and it's okay. It's like but now you've added this guy on Instagram that you're never going to talk to again. But 10 years from now, you're going to see them wishing their grandma a happy birthday. Like, what's the rave bae thing? Why are people so obsessed now rather than it just being, let me enjoy some music at the festival?
See, that doesn't resonate with me. Like looking for a
You
rave bae.
already enter with your rave bae.
Yeah, because every year you went with a rave bae.
There's that, but I mean, even if I didn't have one, I really felt that wasn't part of the culture early on for me. I felt people came for the music. Yeah, you would enhance it with some substances, but meeting people, yes, making friends for sure.
Yeah. I think it is meeting people though, and you are in this space to be yourself. Well, everyone around the world is also coming to EDC. You don't, there are no expectations. You are there for the night. You want to be with someone for 7 Lions, for that Millennium set, you know, and then you're good. But it is way nicer to be with someone and to feel, let's say, loved or comforted during these sets.
To share that experience.
With someone, and then as the Millennium set closes, you like look at the fireworks and you want to share that with someone. Because if you do that by yourself, I mean, it's fine, and you're enjoying everybody's presence, you're enjoying all your friends, but.
Well, I think there's an intersection. I mean, with another cultural phenomenon, like the fact that EDC is in Las Vegas, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I feel like there's a little bit of escapism of just like, you know, I'm really going to put myself out there. I'm just really going to have fun. And that includes like just being a bit more wild. Now, sure, like rave days, you're probably looking for maybe other festivals too, but I don't know. I really feel maybe center around EDC has been very about that for a lot of folks.
Yeah, well, then it gets with the drama of like you aim for a rave bay and then you see another guy swoop in and then they become the rave bays and you're like fuck, and then you look at the other guy, you're like how many other rave bay options did I have now? Like which other ones did I have? And then you go, oh, there's option number 2, he's by himself. You know, you rave bay with them, but it's you bounce. I mean, is everyone playing the game or not? They not? I don't know.
Watch your second option makes out with you, and then he's like, how did you rank me?
Right.
Am I your first choice?
You know,
Were you each other's second, third?
No, but then it's like, exactly, it's like, you know what, it is what it is. And we're in Vegas, it's fine. We're at EDC. Let's all just enjoy the moment. But
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so for me, like, this is the first year being single. Yes, I had a little bit more intentionality thinking about, like, trying the whole looking for a rave bay thing. I'll jokingly refer to, I was channeling 2010 era Tay. You had Tay in the podcast here before.
Tay,
It was very outgoing. The outgoing, right?
Oh, okay, she was. Tay.
well, like,
Energy was
yeah.
like, at least even with our nightclub events, like his goal for the night was like to see how many people he can make out
People
with.
can make
right?
out with. Yes.
Right.
Let's repeat
So
that. That's
channeling
just-
Tay for EDC this year, like I was thinking, like, okay, my goal for this EDC is to try to make out with as many people as possible, or have a rave bay, at least one rave bay every day, or maybe more than one. Now that was the intention, that was the plan. It didn't turn out that way. Didn't have anyone Friday night. Saturday night, I met up with a guy, but we were both just too shy. To the point where someone else did swoop in and like made out with him, and I was kind of like, oh, darn.
See, but then the night doesn't
Shit
end
or
there.
get off the pot.
No, yeah, the night doesn't end there. The night doesn't end there.
But also, I was a little too fucked up on Saturday too to meet anybody else. But Sunday, I had intentions to see other people, but I ended up meeting up with the guy from Saturday, and he basically became my rave bay until the very morning. My mind's just going a few different directions because beginning of this year, my last relationship ended in February, and I was really looking forward to finally, first time in my life, to kind of like be single. I was saying to folks, like, I'm in my solo polyam era where I'm in a relationship with me, myself, and I, and really prioritizing myself first. And I really was enjoying these past few months. I was traveling solo. I was meeting people from different cities. But yeah, I was just really enjoying myself. But this past EDC was just so magical for me. And meeting this particular rave bay, I mean, hopefully I'm not over romanticizing it, but I can't help but be a little bit hopeful to see where it could potentially go.
The one thing that I tell my friends that I live by is leaving the rave bay at the rave, because
I love this.
because you're so high. Oh my god, there's the fireworks. Oh my god, clarity. And you're just living this great life, and then
Until sunrise.
Until sunrise, and you go home together. You go through the dirt to get to the car, or the shuttle, or whatever, and then I don't know. And I'm sure that you'll have a great time, Jenny.
Piggyback off of that. Yeah.
But then you meet the person for dinner, like without substances, without and it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
No expectations overall is what I was just trying to allude to. But if you find a rave bay, make it work.
No, I second Lewis's, like, as a pro tip to folks, like, leave the rave bay at the rave. Of course, I'm not following my own pro tip, but
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
It's
totally. But
it's
like,
the
just
ELO,
like,
and then
you have
everyone
this
talks
super
about the
magical trip. That's exactly what I was going to refer to, like, because you're just still riding this high of everything from substances and whatnot. So the real test to see is, like, when you kind of stabilize and get back to normal self in a few weeks, whether that connection was real or not, right? So,
I guess you're gonna find out.
I guess you're gonna find out, Danny.
yeah,
You have to come back. You have to come back and tell us.
sure.
We'll do a special episode just to track back on that.
We'll bring you back for the wedding episode.
Find bays at the rave. There you go.
So We didn't really talk about this earlier, but you both are literally the architects of gaysian nightlife here in California, with Rise and Switch in SF and LA. And I actually remember you, Danny, from like back when I was really young. I remember seeing you walk around with your boyfriend when we were all very young. And I thought, oh, look at this gay Asian couple. And I thought of you as Gaysian royalty back then. Yes, that's what I did. I was a gay bee. We all have our moments.
Who was it?
And,
Who was the boyfriend?
What year?
Timmy Scott.
Oh,
But, later on, you started throwing your own parties, and, I've been to all of them. So why has it been important for the both of you to create these spaces for Asian people, queer Asian people?
yeah. I've been doing nightlife events for nearly 20 years. And I have to tell you, like, the reason why I started was for quote unquote selfish reasons. I was just trying to solve my own issues. Like, when I was 18 in college, I thought my introversion was a weakness, and being the direct problem solver that I am, I'm like, how can I be more extroverted? All right, I'll be a promoter, right? A club promoter. And started with straight Asian clubs, and I did that for a number of years. I don't know, I just never stopped. And taking my experience in the industry, Game Boy LA, which existed before, I don't know how many years it existed, maybe like 10 years before their CEO approached me to launch the San Francisco division. Yeah, so I ran Game Boy SF for about 10 years. And I have to say, like, Game Boy in total time, like, lasted for 17 years in an SF in LA, and, was recognized as kind of like an institution of sorts. Like,
It was.
people knew about Game Boy, right? Mm-hmm. And, before the pandemic, I actually thought for myself, I've been in this industry space for so long, I kind of want to hang up my hat and retire out. But then the pandemic happened, and, being the introvert that I was, I thought this was going to be great, but it actually really affected me way more negatively than I could ever imagine. But my takeaway from that was that I felt like we were going to need community spaces more than ever once this pandemic was over. And so I kind of doubled down on the idea that, I think this is a great time to finally start my own company, Cutie Nightlife, because I think demand would be so high that no one's going to care if it's an established brand or not. So that's how Cutie Nightlife was born during the pandemic.
The demand is high. Yeah. In LA and in SF.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been to an SF one, but I go to Switch a lot.
But Lewis, you've been working with me for how long now? I mean, the Game Boy days?
For me, it actually started. I think I went to school in San Francisco because it wasn't anything academic. It was actually more of, I knew San Francisco was like the mecca center of gays, gay rights, and equality. And for me, what happened was I had a friend that went to UCI, and he was like, let's drive down. I know there's a club called Rage. And I was like, okay, sure. I drove down all the way to Irvine, and then the next day we go to Rage. Rage Game Boy LA, and I remember going in, and it was like some K-pop song, Shiny. I forgot what song it was, and then there was just a lot of Asians there, and I was like, what? How come we don't have anything like this in the Bay Area? How come there's a lot of Asians in the Bay Area, there's a lot of gay people in the Bay Area, but there isn't anything, there isn't a space that people can enjoy in, just like at the time Rage or Game Boy LA. That's when I found out a couple years later, Danny was starting off Game Boy SF, and I was like super ecstatic. That's where I became one of the first promoters. I got flyers. When I heard about Danny's Game Boy SF, I became one of the first promoters. And, back in the day, it was still flyers. I was actually that one person going to getting the flyer, putting them in the windshield wipers all around San Francisco State, and putting them in the bathrooms, going to USF, putting them on the billboards. And I wanted as many gay Asians to know that there's going to be a space like this.
Also, it's important to note, around 2010, when Game Boy SF launched, I think in terms of other Gaysian spaces that existed at the time, like Club Dragon was every Friday, and I think they were closing down. that time.
Yeah.
And then there was Club Fuse in the South Bay, which also too, I think their owners decided they wanted to move on with their life. So
And there was Shangri-La.
There was Shangri-La.
Oh, Shangri-La.
right. A very specific point in 2010 when Game Boy CEO approached me. I actually was doing the consulting work for him for free because I just really saw the importance of needing these spaces for our community again. And at the end of it, I'm like, can I be a part of this still?
Mm-hmm.
He offered me a job, and I did it for 10 years, and then here I am.
When I started going to those events, I look back at it now and I see it, but like for me, I felt like the Gaysian spaces sometimes was run by white men, so Game Boy included, and like we were circuiting for a while. Remember our circuiting phase, don't you? Mm-hmm. Even though you went on the gay cruise last year.
Okay, call me out.
That also a huge Gaysian space, but like run by a white man. Mm-hmm. And so I only bring that up to say that it is nice to see that we're carving our own spaces now.
Yeah, because it didn't always, even though it was a space for us, it wasn't by us.
It was for that man who wanted that space for himself.
Yes,
and
exactly.
there was a complicated feeling about going to some of these spaces sometimes, even though I attended them frequently. I was like, well, who's this for? And why are they throwing this?
Exactly.
Maybe that's a good segue, having a complicated feeling, to finally get to a segment that we haven't gotten to in a while, called the Get Real segment.
Oh.
So this is the segment where each of us, including me and Chris, we're going to share our real feelings about something. And the prompt this episode is, what's a complicated feeling you have about Gaysian nightlife? So it could be about the raves, the parties, Rise, Switch, Q&A, or any of those other parties, but what is a complicated feeling you hold about Gaysian nightlife? And I can begin. Because I feel like I've been like a little bit quiet on this episode, not quiet on social media about EDC, but quiet on this episode, and I joke that I don't go to EDC but like to comment on it. But the real reason I don't go to EDC actually goes a little bit deeper, and it goes to the fact that I used to go to raves a lot, used to go to circuit parties a lot, did Molly sometimes 3 times a weekend, every weekend, maybe 3 weekends out of a month. And I just kept chasing the high, but chasing the validation and the that warm feeling, right?
Oh my
that
gosh, validation. That's
validation.
Yeah, I love that.
And I didn't realize how much of my life revolved around that until the pandemic hit. That all was taken away from me. I went through a couple of things and hit kind of rock bottom depression-wise, but then I also had a huge substance abuse problem around the summer of like 2020. Where I would work would end at 6, I would do a workout, and then I was like, I'll just have one cocktail, and there was 1 martini, and then 1 martini would turn into 3 martinis, and 3 martinis would turn into let's get into a K-hole, and then it would turn into let's drink a martini, get into a K-hole, and smoke weed and watch this one thing called Midnight Gospel on Netflix. And I would wake up the next morning and be like, okay, that I can never do that again. And then I go to work, 6 p.m. I roll around, and I would do the exact same thing, and it would go on for a few months until one day I'm like, I actually have a problem. I'm depressed, and I should get some help for it. And I did. I got to therapy. I became the person who was more honest and vulnerable about everything I'm feeling that you get in these Get Real segments. But I do feel once the pandemic not ended, but lockdown was a lot less intense, and we started going out again. And I think the last few years, it's been me trying to negotiate how much of that party life can still be in my life, and how much of it is just painful and making me anxious that I might end up on that road again. I might be at that rock bottom state again. And so I think I kind of joke around and shade, go on Instagram and make fun of EDC or comment on it and just say that I'm in it for clout. And when people ask, why aren't you going? I'm just I'm too old for it, or it's just not for me. But I think the reason is a little deeper. I don't think I can, given my history, go to an EDC and feel like I am not going to end up there again. It's sort of like acid has been great for me for many years, but the last few times have been traumatic. I had a mini mental breakdown on one of them. And I was one of those trips, and I was just like, I don't think I could do this again. And that's okay. And so I know we joke a lot about Kay and everything on this podcast, because I do think it's a little bit of me kind of working through like, well, why do I still do it when I know that I had an abuse problem into 2020? That's all is to say, like, sometimes when people ask me about like, oh, are you going to finally go to EDC, or will you go next year? Like, you should go. I'm like, it's nice that you can be that kind of person with the mental health you have and still go to an EDC and still be fine when you get home, laugh about the come downs and laugh that you do all of this. I just think with my specific history, it is really, really hard to like, this is dramatic, but like, I might like put myself on a path again where I would not be sure that I'm living. I would be alive in 10 years. And I spent a lot of my 20s really enjoying going out every weekend, but then like some Mondays I would be like, am I ever going to stop? You know? And so that's kind of where I am. It's like, I appreciate that it's fun for people. I'm a little jealous that people can go and have a great time that way. I'm not sober, but like, I'm also not like probably going to be the happiest person if I let like the rave scene really take over my life again. You know what I mean? So that's my Get Real segment.
Thank you for sharing that, Val. Like, I could totally relate, because during the pandemic, I discovered I have an addictive personality. I was self-medicating very heavily to the point I actually voluntarily went to rehab. And actually, I actually would love to talk about it openly even more with anyone, because I do recognize our community in general might have, substance abuse issues. But I'm glad I went through rehab, because I learned a lot about myself, like the biology of it, the reasons why we do it. And addiction is the disease of loneliness. When we're self-medicating, it's because we're trying to like avoid certain feelings that we don't want to process or deal with. Part of it too is like, I chose to let myself go. Right. Mm-hmm. And now that we're out of the pandemic, I've reintroduced a number of substances, and I've been very cautious about it, worrying if it's going to be a slippery slope back to like that rock bottom. But I think because, who I am today, what I've learned, the fact that I can be consciously aware and with intention.
Same.
I think I should in part share it with you about that, maybe that, just as long as you stay mindful and with intention, that, maybe you can reintroduce some of these more fun activities of past, and, not necessarily, I wouldn't say live in fear, but like worry overtly that would happen again.
Yeah. And I think I'm getting better at it. And just like maybe accepting the fact that like, hey, that person, you're just not a different person, but this is you now. Mm-hmm. And there have been slippery slope moments, some weekends, where I'm like, I don't like this feeling. And maybe during the sabbatical, there were some lonely nights where unfortunately I did have a bag of K with me. There
you go.
It's okay to slip. It happens.
I think you're not the only person that has gone through this, or you're also like, there are a lot of other people that go through the similar thoughts of what you've been going through. But we have to go back to understand like why Danny and I have created these spaces. It is because we wanted to hold these types of spaces to escape reality, to let loose, to let our hair down, to get away from the corporate girlies that we're always with, and to be with the gaysians that we want to be with in the weekends. But then if we constantly do that, it gets a little carried away to what we need to chase for that high. And then it comes to the other end of the spectrum of the substances. And then I think, I've seen people pass away on the dance floor. I've seen people not come back, and is that part of what we want to be known for also, right? Like gaysians, and you hear this always being tied to partying and raves. Is that something that we want to be known for? It's a lot of fun, but there is still the dark side of it.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And thanks for sharing that, Danny and Lewis. Thank you. I appreciate that. Who wants to go next on their Get Real?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like complicated feelings of like what I mentioned earlier, that we hold these spaces because we have a reason, and we have a mission of bringing people together, of who are relevant, who represent us. But then it gets to this point of, why are we getting connected to get drunk, to get high in these spaces? Are we building connection? And then it gets to a point of, I think we're all just connecting because we have one thing in common. And then what do we do beyond that? Well, if you take away the drinking, if you take away all of that, what does that make all of us? And that's where it gets a bit conflicting on. Danny and I have been doing this for so long, and when Danny talks about it, I think someone else needs to take on the reins on this. But that's where I just see this constant partying all the time. Like, do we need to keep doing that, or do I need to keep doing that? That's why I also was thinking of, maybe it is time for me to lay low and to relax a little bit.
It's kind of to piggyback both off Lewis and Yuval. Like, I think kind of the complicated feelings I have about the nightlife scene is, yeah, people maybe using it as a coping mechanism to go drink a lot or do other substances. And it's kind of ironic because a lot of folks will ask me, like, are you excited for your next event? And I have to tell them not exactly, because it feels like work, because it has been work for me for 20 plus years. But even when it's like not my own event, like, I remember in my early 20s, like, all my friends constantly like say, let's go to the Castro. You want to go drink? You want to go drink? You want to go drink? And I was just like, no, I don't want to go drink. But then when I constantly kept passing that up, people just stopped asking me to hang out. And that kind of bummed me for quite some time. But here I am, like, holding, club events. But the reason why I'm in this space too is I formed QT Nightlife as a means, not an ends. Like, it's a financial vehicle in which what I hope to do is to take those funds and put into other programming. Like, I have like this Facebook group called the East Bay Gaysians, where we do picnics in the summer. And, imagine a picnic, you probably just come out in sunny weather, just, maybe have some food, maybe someone's bringing alcohol. But where maybe I catch people off guard a little bit is with intentionality, I have these question prompt cards from like Esther Perel or Brene Brown, or just to like,
Great.
And I would pass about to different groups and say, hey folks, here's a topic for you to talk about, and then like bring them all together and we'll talk about like shame or your coming out story or something that you've been struggling to deal with. And that's where I really want to go in my life personally, and hopefully somehow pivot or channel QT Night's work to provide that kind of space, a space where we could be more intimate. We don't have to yell across over loud music. Maybe it's a sober space. So, yeah, I don't know exactly what that trajectory path looks like. I've been doing this nightlife work for 20 years. I have been kind of wondering for myself, what is my own exit plan? I don't know if I will do this for another few years, 10, 20, who knows? That kind of bothers me a little bit. Yeah, I'm grateful for folks like Lewis and the many people who make QT Nightlife possible. And like altogether, I think maybe we could put our heads together and figure out like where do we go from here.
I would love to go to an event where we're doing the Esther Perel cards, because we do them all the time. We do them with a Molly, which makes you even more open and vulnerable, which is not probably the space that you're talking about. But I do love those cards.
I just did it this weekend, but I did fall asleep during it.
All right, last one. Last Get Real segment. Chris, it's on to you.
I sense a theme, and I don't know, maybe it's because a lot of us have done this for so long.
Yeah.
And we're all like, we're not kids anymore. I think, as we all know, I participate in nightlife a lot. I've been to some of these EDCs, but lately I feel like I'm really on the periphery of these things. Like when people said, are you going to EDC? They expect that I'm going to EDC,
yeah.
when I actually haven't even been to that many, but I project that sort of vibe to people. But I feel like I would still be sitting on the outside, and it's not exactly for me. I feel like I might be aging out of these things. A lot of these people, we like different things. I hate trance. I'm not that like young kid anymore. I'm not talking to the same people. And when I go to Rise, everyone's like 18 to 30, and I could be some people's parents there. And it's not like I'm like trying to like fit in, even though there is some of that, but I don't feel like I fit in anymore. And so I'm trying to find like, new avenues, but I still really enjoy the nightlife. I enjoyed the partying, but I think I have been troubles figuring out where I belong in it. And sort of like Bao, am I going to look back on these things and say, oh, is it colored by all these other substances? I don't think I've gotten... I try not to think about it a lot in some ways by avoiding those things, but I see it coming at me, and I feel like I probably have to face something like that soon.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a while, girl. I feel the age thing too.
Yeah.
Well, I feel the need to call you out, Chris. Like, on two fronts. Like, I'm a trans purist, so, like... I'm a trans purist. I describe to folks trance is modern day classical music. So have some culture, Chris.
Okay.
Sure.
He deserved that. He deserved that.
And above and beyond, huge ally for our community. All right.
Yeah, look at that,
Yeah,
right?
You know,
Oh my gosh.
I don't love the music, but I don't hate
Right.
what they offer to everyone. And I think that's what I think about sometimes about EDC. It's not that I hate EDC or dislike it or anything, because watching these TikToks and Instagram stories of everybody loving it, I was really happy for all these people, all these young people building their core memories. I built a lot of core memories when I went, and I think it's great. I just am trying to figure out what are my new core memories I'm going to be building.
Yeah, same. Because I think like, well, for me, I'm the part of my life where, like, I felt this at White Party where I was like, I spent all this money to go to Bangkok White Party,
Oh my gosh.
and I still haven't taken my dad to Japan, and that's the one thing he wants to go on a trip with me to Japan before, morbidly, he dies. Is what he always says, and so I still feel that Asian guilt of like, you did spend all this time on yourself and now it's time to like take care of your community or take care of your family. And maybe who are partying now will get there one day, but don't worry about that. Enjoy the party right now. Probably not for me in my time in my life right now.
I can relate to both of you about it, Chris, because, like, I mean, I'm not too many I'm pretty close to age to y'all, right? I think I am. Where I feel like I'm kind of aging out a bit.
You're talking about age now?
And
I feel so young.
Where, like, I'm cognizant too. It's like, okay, imagine if I'm like in my 40s, 50s, 60s, still running nightlife events, providing space for 18 up, 21 up folks. Like, how do I have the wherewithal to know what they want and need?
Yeah.
Right. So, I would love Kitty Nightlife to exist far beyond, my involvement, but I mean, like we were saying it earlier, like, when these Asian spaces were run by white people, right? Like, I want to be cognizant too. It's like, spaces should be created, from the people who are in for that space is for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been noticing over the years now, like, I feel like actually an outsider. I create the space, I'm observing the space, but I'm not in the space. And that's why on a personal level, at least going forward, I find myself like shifting away. Like, what do I want to do? Like, I love the fact that we're on this podcast and then we can talk about these things. I feel like this is where I want to go. And great job for you two for starting this, because like we need more things like this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could give you words of encouragement, but unfortunately, the whole gaysian nightlife community is in your hands, Danny. You cannot quit. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Or we
are
can
we
start
gonna do
succession
next?
planning. Oh, maybe it should be a reality show. Like we do.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Who's going to be
the next
next?
Gaysian party planner?
Gosh. There are people in line, aren't there, Danny?
I'll do a shout out to Liam. Liam is
Liam's love Liam. Shout out
Yeah.
Liam.
Yes.
He's our chief operations officer. What's fascinating about Liam is that like he had no nightlife experience before, and I brought him in knowing that he had like the passion, and I trained him up, and he really is next in line. If I were to suddenly leave or somehow disappear, he would be the next best person. But there is so much to running despite me doing this for 20 years, the whole business side of actually owning and running a company has been
that's the hard part.
A lot of work that I underestimated from forever. I never knew. So yeah, I would love to figure out a succession plan. I welcome anyone who's listening to this podcast. Like, if you want to be a part of this, please tell me.
You're missing the big pitch. How's the money though?
Okay.
You don't have to give me a number. Is it good? Is it
no?
not?
Actually, this is something I actually also want to make a point of to the community. I actually run this company like a nonprofit. I actually don't pay myself anything. Okay, so for context, Cutie Nightlife revenued $200,000 last year. How much net profit do you think Cutie Nightlife made? Paying out contractors and advertisement, like out of the 200,000 gross revenue, what's left?
Oh,
I might have heard a rumor that you're actually operating at a loss.
Okay. Val, what do you think?
50K?
Right. So when I asked folks this for their guesses, I got like $100,000, $50,000 net profit. Chris, you've heard right. We are operating at a loss as of last year. That's opened my eyes a little bit. I definitely want to kind of run the company this year a little differently so that we're a little healthier. Because again, Cutie Nightlife really is a means, not an ends. I really want us to be healthy enough that we could do other programming.
Well, and just to add a little context, this is not like some shade operating at a loss. Like, you're putting your own money and time into this because you are so very passionate about it. And I love that.
You would charge differently if your intent was to make a lot of profit and to be rich. You don't. And instead you get everyone lining up at 10:30 trying to get in before CoverGirl.
Right.
And people get sloshed on the drink special.
I don't want finances to be a barrier to folks.
Yeah. Y'all just pay the cover.
Yeah.
Just pay the damn cover. I know, like, you all like stress out about like finishing your dinner by 10 so you can get there.
Just pay the damn cover.
And you like try to like see any like Cutie Nightlife staff you can to get on a list, which is great. But like, pay the cover, girls. It's $10.
It goes back to the community.
Back in the day, I mean to say, as of when white people were taking over these spaces. Like, why were they taking over these spaces? I don't think they were also trying to make a profit. I think they were trying to just be involved in the community they're fantasizing about.
Yes.
Right? and so we can't go ahead and build this community and try and make a profit off of our friends. Right? But at the same time, it is a lot of money. It is a lot of time spent on this.
Yeah. 150,000 of that 200,000 goes back into community, to other Gaysians, to other queers, other POCs. That's one thing I really, what keeps me actually keep going to do what I do, because I really enjoy the fact that I'm at the home with my team and reinvesting in the community. It would pain me if a non-Gaysian, were running this and taking it for themselves, right? So
But people should know that more. People should know that you guys reinvested in the community and how.
Yeah.
I think people would like to know that,
And if you made some money,
Newsletter.
I would be happy for you too.
Yeah, Danny, you deserve a lot of it. I know you put a lot of time in. I think also now that we are not affiliated with Game Boy or whatever it is, we are doing it all on our own now, with all the contractors, with the photographers, graphic designers. We're all doing it ourselves.
Oh, there's so much more I could say about Game Boy operations under...
Oh my gosh, he's been living and breathing this stuff, yeah. And we also have, we talk about our differences and how we want to move forward. We have a lot of healthy discussions in the back, and we have our little drama times too.
Sounds like the Rice Rockets.
Well, from what I heard, yeah.
Well, let's get Joshua in this podcast now, and let's get all of those other girls.
Just Joshua knows both worlds, yes. Oh my gosh.
That's so true.
Yeah. But we're all, I mean, and that's how we're also connected, because Race Rockettes are performing at Rise for Pride. Because we all
little
want
plug,
to take
little
care
plug.
of each other.
Yeah.
Little plug.
Wait, when was the date on that?
June 28th at Rickshaw Stop. It's actually more specific. It's our Cutie K-pop night.
Rickshaw. Oh, do you guys still do Rickshaw?
A rickshaw? Or I thought that was at Origins.
So we've reintroduced Rickshaw Stop in our mix, but it's not Rise Night actually. It's our cutie K-pop night. Technically a separate division, different brand.
This is for the 18-up kids.
Exactly. This is for the 18-up crowd. I felt it was really important that when Rise unfortunately became a 21-up event this year, I really still wanted to make sure that the under 21s had a space, and the youngest generation's all into K-pop. So that'll be Pride Friday. June 28th, and then for the Asians, we'll do our annual event at the Grand on Saturday, June 29th. So you can go to XOXO block party, then come stop by our event, and then you can go to the afters back to XOXO. So you do it all.
You know, if the Rice Rockettes for K-pop night perform Wonder Girls one more time,
give us our flowers.
Hey, the young people haven't seen it, so give it to them. So, yeah.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to close the episode. I'm surprised, Chris, that we managed to get through another EDC episode without going. People are going to hate us.
It's okay. We brought 2 people who didn't intend on going, but went.
And you just need to go. You just need to go and hang out. No expectations, remember? If you meet the rave bay, you got to leave them at the rave.
Leave them at the rave. That's learning opportunities. Yes,
that's the caption.
Let's all go next year. Let's all go.
Let's all just. Oh wait, no. I said I wasn't gonna go next year. I said I'm not gonna go.
No. You're going, Lewis. Let's all go. We can go to the home pod too. You know, we can do another episode about that.
I know.
Yes. We'll book our hotels after we stop recording.
Exactly. You gotta book now.
And thank you, Danny and Lewis, for joining us. Maybe to send us out, we might do a rapid fire question. Really quickly, what's your favorite rave song?
After 20 plus years of rave, you're asking me to pick one? Oh my gosh.
Just one. Pick one.
You feel it. You know it.
Oh, you know, okay. The rave song that I love, will always sing my heart out to, and he did it so well this year, was Zed Clarity. Come on, you can't.
You took mine.
Oh, wait, we're doing it too?
I was going to say Clarity.
I know, you took mine too.
Well, you had to be there because it was the drones and then the fireworks and the album announcement, and then you just see the gays just like, oh my god, Clarity. Yeah,
I know. I was there the year it came, 2013.
Oh, the song came out.
Yes, I know. It's 10 years old. And he released a 10th anniversary version, and I was like,
oh, he did. I know.
Tinashe released a 2-on 10th anniversary version, and I'm like, wow. How is that song 10 years old?
Yeah.
Anyway,
golden era.
It's hard to pick one. I mean, there's ATB, there's Nadia Ali, there's Ferry Corsten. When he was yeah, right. Nadia, it's local.
Danny dancing in Quantum Valley, just like swaying back and forth.
ATB, no, not Ecstasy, not that song. ATB's 9 p.m. Till I Come.
All right, on the flip side, what is your least favorite or most overrated song?
Well, y'all saw my face when you said Clarity. I think it's overplayed out. I'm probably going to get some haters on it.
There we go.
Well, hey, to Zed's credit, at EDC this year, it was a great set, but I feel like he's pretty basic. I'm just very tired of him.
I agree.
He's basic. It's beautiful. The gays love him.
I'm over Zed. He looks like a miniature man boy. It's
I know. Yeah, man boy.
When he said this, I'm like, what do you mean? And they showed me the picture, and the way I fell on the floor laughing. That he looks like a man boy.
Actually, yeah.
Okay, one last question to send us off. Best candy bracelet you've ever gotten?
Oh my gosh, I'm like looking over if I had my candies over from the weekend.
Whoa!
What is that one? Danny's holding up.
Again, pulling stuff from my rave box, but this is a candy bracelet I think Des made me, and he has a Panda Express Fortune cookie on here.
Oh my gosh!
Fortune,
read it.
And it reads, "You are admired as a leader in your community."
Oh.
Wow,
Panda Express.
Yeah,
sweet.
It really meant a lot. Like for that one, for him to put this for me. Yeah.
Oh.
What about
Well,
you, Lewis?
yeah, we can end at that note. Oh my god, it's so funny because the other one, the only thing that I can think of, it was so funny that one of the LA boys that I met gave me a candy called LA Roster that I had. I know, it was so funny. It said LA Roster because one of my friends was just mentioning how, you know, you just go down to LA, you meet up with all the boys, and he outspokenly said that he was part of the roster. But it comes with just knowing so many people in the community.
Oh, you Miss Popular.
That's sweet.
All right, to wrap us up, where can folks follow and support you all?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at lj.png. Follow me on Instagram.
Folks can follow me at QTNLCEO, and also please follow our company account, Cutie Nightlife.
And you can follow me and Chris at Literally Gaysians on Instagram, TikTok,
YouTube, where you can watch all of our beautiful faces. I even put on makeup today for you all. And that's all, folks. And we hope to see you under the electric sky for yet another kissing photo.
2025!
in a helicopter. Bye.
Bye.